Investment advisory and financial planning services are offered through Simplicity Wealth, LLC, and SEC Registered Investment Advisor. SEC registration does not constitute nor endorse of the firm, nor does it indicate that the advisor has attained a particular level of skill nor ability. Investing involves risk of loss. Insurance, consulting, and education services offered through Diamond Life Planning is a separate and unaffiliated entity from Simplicity Wealth. This information is provided as a general information and is not intended to be specific financial guidance. Before you make any decisions regarding your personal financial situation, you should consult a financial or tax professional to discuss your individual circumstances and objectives.
Welcome to the Rock My Finances show on K4HD Radio and Talk4 TV, where we put the fun in finance. Join Powerhouse Jennifer Jost, CDFA, CMC, and Private Wealth Advisor, as she collaborates with you to create clarity, control, and confidence with your money, your way. It's not about the zeros, so what is it all about? Let's find out. Now here's your host and weekly friend, Jennifer Jost.
Welcome back to another episode of Rock My Finances. I am thrilled today to have an amazing attorney, Ms. Hillary Walsh. She is an award-winning immigration attorney, TEDx speaker, which we all know and love, and the founder of New Frontier Immigration Law, which is one of the fastest growing immigration law firms in the U.S. with over a decade of legal experience. Hillary has helped thousands of immigrants secure legal status and freedom through family-based, humanitarian, and business immigration strategies. And where we're at right now in our country, this is like a war. And I don't think anybody knows what is the real truth. So we're going to bring Hillary on right now for a real conversation, and I'm going to learn so much today. I can't even wait. Hillary, you're amazing. Thank you for being a badass woman, entrepreneur, and showing up on Rock My Finances. How are you today?
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much.
I'm glad you're here. First question I want to ask you is, this is one that you don't know. What is something that you enjoyed that you spent money on in the last week or two?
Well, I spend money on lots of things. Isn't that how the world goes around? But my husband recently, my husband is a F-16 pilot for over 20 years, and he just retired this past year. And so you take a pilot out of the sky and you have a very sad human. And so He ended up getting an airplane, and it fits all 6 of us, our whole family. And we flew to Vegas on Monday, on President's Day, and we went and watched The Wizard of Oz at the Sphere. So we live in Phoenix, and so it was about an hour flight. And this was a really wonderful experience. I do not like being in little airplanes. I have actually like a really big fear of heights. So even going in the Sphere, I was like, what am I doing to my nervous system? But I love The Wizard of Oz. I love seeing my husband happy. And it was definitely money well spent being able to do that and have that experience with our family.
Oh my gosh, I'm going to love that. So I have all my clients do a money dance, and this is my dorky money dance.
I love it. I love it.
We do not celebrate enough when we have wins and when we spend money. And what I believe is the media tells women, don't buy Starbucks purses and shoes instead of having them create a business such as yourself, like a law firm, and make money so that we can actually change what's going on if we don't like it. So you are a perfect mentor for a lot of people. So thank you for sharing that. How old are your kids? I know you have 4.
Yeah, I have 4 kids. I have 12-year-old non-identical girl twins. I have an 11-year-old, so 12, 11-year-old girl, and an 8-year-old little guy.
Okay, you are in for it.
It's coming. It's coming.
Just wait. I don't know if you drink alcohol, but wine might be your friend.
Yeah, I think that tennis and pickleball, as we were talking about before we hit record, might be my outlet. And the good thing is they all like those sports too for right now. So maybe that'll just be our family's way of processing all the changes on our horizon.
Oh, for sure. I mean, activities are amazing. Even if they're going to be that surly 14, 15-year-old not going to speak to you, they're still going to kick your butt on the pickleball court. So you might as well do that and go on vacations, and you can travel and go everywhere and do that. So
yes,
that's great. Well, thank you again so much for coming. I'm going to dig right into it if you don't mind, because I need some education here.
Let's do it.
I know that everyone keeps talking about immigration status. Everyone keeps talking about, being deported, being aliens, being non-aliens, being, all the thing. And everyone keeps saying, why don't they just get it legalized? Why aren't they just doing the process? So what would be your number one reason on why is it so hard to become a legal citizen? How's that for a question for you?
Yeah, it's really, there's so many complicating factors. I think that's really what it comes down to. And then everyone always says, and that's the short answer and the soundbite is that our system is broken. We need to fix our system.
Right.
How do we do that? And I think that's really where everybody starts to want to walk away from the problem, because it is so complicated and there's a lot of family underlying it. There's a lot of, for lack of a better term, a lot of racism that is underlying our current immigration system, where we don't have any limitations on how many, we have very little limitations on people who are wanting to immigrate from Australia and from Canada or from England, but we have a ton of restrictions on some of our biggest neighbors, like on Mexico, and people who are really wanting to immigrate here, like from the Philippines and from India. And you notice that those are not primarily, Caucasian countries. They're folks who don't look like the folks who were writing the laws at the time that they were writing the laws. And so we have to do a little bit of deep diving into what is the point of immigration. And right now, the party line is that immigration is here to help keep families together, but we see that that's not actually the case. And for me, what I would love to see is that immigration stops being such a political issue and becomes an economics issue. When we look at birth rates in the United States and in other countries around the world, and this is, by the way, not my original thought. Like I went to law school because math was not my friend. So
Oh, I love that.
I will share that. But when we look at birth rates and we see that our countries, you look at China, and if China doesn't increase its birth rate real fast, somehow the whole country could collapse. But it takes, a long time to create a 21-year-old educated human. It takes at least 22 years if we include gestation period, right?
Right.
So when you have a deficit like we have in the United States and you have around the world, how do you overcome this human deficit so that your country can continue to grow? Immigration is the number one way to do that. And by importing workers who want to be here, by allowing them to come here and work and live and support our economy and help grow our economy, that's where we can reframe the conversation around immigration and really see it as such a net positive, because at the end of the day, that's exactly what it is. Of course, there are situations where folks make bad choices and they do things that are heinous, and that's more true for people who are U.S. citizens than it is for immigrants. The data doesn't lie. But nevertheless, if we could have a conversation about the economics of immigration instead of the politics of it, we'd get a lot farther in the conversation about how do we fix this broken system.
I love that. And then the climate that we're in now, there's so much fake news on both sides. You're saying the data doesn't lie. Do we have that problem with the data as well? Is there a lot of inaccuracies being shared out there?
I think that there is. Data can be manipulated any way you want it to be manipulated, because you can cite different statistics and different studies. And what we see right now where an example of this is different social media pages run by official government agencies will highlight the people who are criminals and who are either undocumented or here lawfully but had committed crimes and now they're going to be deported. When we highlight that in a vacuum, we start to believe that many or most undocumented immigrants are bad people like that. But when we look at all of the data, we see that that's actually not the case. The undocumented immigrants in particular commit less crimes as a whole than U.S. citizens do. That's probably, let's face it, because they know if they commit a crime, they're going to get caught. So they have to keep their nose super clean. But when we have government agencies putting a lot of information out, it's not that it would be a lie, and it would be foolish for anyone to say that undocumented or documented immigrants don't commit crimes. That's just not true. But when we only highlight, the people who are committing crimes, we start to paint a picture that is not a full picture. It's like when you are putting a puzzle together and you're looking at one or two puzzle pieces rather than getting to see how those one or two pieces fit into the entire picture. I think the entire picture is very important.
I love that. Do we have a reason, or does someone have a reason why the different countries have different rules on immigration to the United States?
No real stated reason. It was that we wouldn't have essentially a hostile takeover from another country by allowing some other country to flood the United States. So they created a cap. I think, and this is where I'm not super good with numbers, but for the sake of simplicity, I think that it's 3%. You cannot have more than 3% of our entire visa allotment go to more than one country. So let's say that we have 100 visas that are available. We obviously have lots more. No country could take more than 3 of those at a time. And so that's where we get these backlogs, because Mexico has a lot of folks who are US citizens now, and they have family and they're petitioning for their family. But when you can only issue 3% of all the visas that are available to these folks who are Mexicans and they're waiting in this line, the line for Mexicans becomes so long. Like right now, a US citizen sibling petition. So if my brother is Mexican, I'm US citizen, I want to petition for him. It will take over 20 years for his visa category to be current, meaning he can't get a green card and actually come to the US for a minimum of 20 years. By contrast, if my brother is Canadian, his visa is eligible right now. He can come on over, because we don't have that many Canadians seeking to immigrate to the United States, because there aren't that many Canadians who have immigrated to the United States to begin with, where we have lots of folks from Mexico that do.
You just explained so much. That's so wonderful. So who can change that law of the 3%?
Congress.
Okay, and there we go.
There you go. There you go. When I was in DC, it was right before President Trump was elected. The election stuff was all going on. I was meeting with, at the time, the economic advisor for Vice President, then Vice President Kamala Harris, and everyone described how immigration was like the third rail. It used to be abortion. Nobody wanted to talk about abortion. Before that, it was gay rights. Nobody wanted to talk about gay marriage. And then now it had come to, no one wanted as a politician to take on immigration as a core thing that they were going to go champion, unless it was to be adverse to immigration. We saw a lot of that in the Trump campaign. That's crazy to me, because each of us, when we really distill it down, we have some type of immigrant story in our families, whether it's really celebrated or not. It really depends. Like my husband's whole side of the family is Canadian. And then before that, they were all Irish. And they have very, very strong ties to the Irish culture. My family, we're a bunch of mutts. So we don't really have a strong connection to our immigrant, like our ancestors' immigrant story. But how could I not be grateful to my great-great-grandparents who immigrated to this amazing country? Because look at the fortune, how fortunate I am to get to have been born here and then get to live here. So anyway, I wish that people would talk about it from a positive perspective, while recognizing that there are problems and there are folks who we don't want to be here.
Absolutely. And every system can be broken at one time or another that needs to be fixed. This is not the only system in the United States that needs to be fixed as well.
And the last major reform we had was when Bill Clinton was in office.
And how did that go?
It was major immigration reform. It was creating a lot of punishment for people if they came into the country illegally. It really impacted folks who were Mexicans who would come across the border and work. It was a very common thing for people to come in, work, go back home, maybe after a season. You have lived in Southern California before. It was very common for folks to come in, work, harvest, and then go back home. But when Congress created the law that Bill Clinton ended up signing into law, it created a lot of punishment. So if you were here and had worked without permission, and no one was working with permission back then, this was just not a common thing, then you were banned from getting to come back. And then it could be a criminal penalty. And like basically the wall went up behind people and they got stuck. If they ever wanted to come back, they had to stay. And that's when so many people went from being just a laborer, they're just going to work for a little while seasonally, to now I'm undocumented and I'm stuck here and I don't know what to do. And attorneys, I mean, I was just a kid then, but I'm guessing attorneys really didn't know how to advise either, because it was such a severe thing. And we need to, roll some of that back in order to let people move on and move forward. Because we've got a lot of
Legally.
people who are stuck. Exactly.
Legally.
You want
That makes
people to go
so
about
much
the process
sense.
legally, you got to make options available to them.
Yes, I love that. I'm so glad you explained that. That's really, because I lived in Northern California, which I lived in farm country.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, complete farm country.
Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful. Okay, so talking to you, I know it's a lot to unravel, but it's doable.
It is doable.
Like you said, if we all got on the same page and we're here for an economic reason, instead of trying to who's going to vote who, let's see what's best for the country and move forward that way.
For sure. And what discourages me in our process is we expect politicians to not only understand what the problem is, but then for them to also solve it. And I really think that politicians should bring in immigration advisors and almost have people who are on each side of the aisle present and duke it out among ourselves about how is the best way that we can really solve this problem, when at the core of it, we're all wanting to do this because we love our country out of a sense of patriotism, and then present that to lawmakers. But instead, I just think that they're trying to solve things in ways that in the end don't really make sense. And then they roll a whole bunch of pork into stuff and then nothing gets done.
Yes. Agreed. It's coming about keeping your seat and your votes instead of doing what's right. So, and getting smarter people that have boots on the ground that see this, like yourself, every day, and you know exactly what's happening, to have them duke it out and then come to the lawmakers. That's a great idea. I love that.
If someone came out, I mean, I think that if we see a presidential candidate, for example, come out and say, it is like Obama said, we're going to fix healthcare. And then he got this Obamacare stuff going. If we had a politician who emerged right now, before we have midterms, who said, I'm going to run for president and I am committed to a bipartisan immigration reform in my first term, you'd turn some heads.
Right?
You turn some heads because it's an audacious claim, but also saying it from a bipartisan perspective, and have Abraham Lincoln style, a team of rivals. Frankly, I would not want Stephen Miller to be part of that conversation, but that's me. But we could have a lot of folks who have some really good ideas about how we can solve this problem. And those folks sit down and come up with a plan that is not so conservative. It's not so liberal, that it really is like a lot of common sense stuff that can be done.
I love that. So we have about 5 minutes left. I would love to hear, why do you care about this? Why did you build this amazing law firm built around this? And then I'll cut you off at 1 minute. So go ahead and give us a little bit about you.
The 60-second pitch on this is, I went to law school I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up. I wanted to be a country music superstar, and that did not pan out because you really need to be good at singing to make that happen.
A little bit.
And I just didn't have it. So, what do you do next? I knew I wanted to get a degree, couldn't figure it out. Long story short, there I am volunteering in Uganda while my husband is fighting in the Iraq war. And talk about not knowing, who you are in life. And I had this eye-opening kind of like life-changing experience of, I can help people who are in these difficult situations, and I can do it by being a lawyer. So I decided to go to law school, got to law school, and fell in love with my immigration law professor. She was so cool. She had just been an immigration attorney in LA, in fact. And being from rural Kansas, anybody from LA at the time was just like too cool.
All that. Yep.
Yeah, you gotta love it. And I worked in the immigration clinic under her supervision as a law student. And my first client was a 14-year-old undocumented girl from Germany. And she had been kidnapped and raped and prostituted on the Strip, because I was going to law school in Las Vegas, while she was a teenager. And they had just found her. And I went out to Nashville, where she was in like a rehab facility for sex trafficking victims. And that's the first case I worked on. And talk about getting thrown into the deep end, helping people when they are really at their lowest. You are so valuable as a counselor at law. You really get to help mentor folks, and you see them grow. Once they get those papers, you can grow up the socioeconomic ladder.
And you want to.
You want to see people do that. And they're working so hard already. And now you see them working in a different way, that now it's not out of fear and it's not under the table. And they just have such better life experiences, and it's all keeping families together. I mean, it's just the best.
I love that. I love that. Oh my gosh, Hillary, would you do me a favor and come back on another show and talk about your entrepreneurship? Because that's what I love. The women, I want more women at every decision-making table in this world. I'll start with the country first. I believe that if we can get more women at these tables, we can have better conversations. So I love having this conversation with you.
Well, it's been an honor to be here. Thank you so much for opening up this dialogue.
Awesome. And then we have your TEDx talk. What is the name of that?
Oh my gosh, I don't even remember. I recorded it so long ago, but the thrust of that talk is talking about the simple changes we can make to immigration law. Right now, if I am a U.S. citizen and I get married to an immigrant, I have to file a petition for him or for her. And what that ends up creating is a lot of domestic violence and just abuse and control of, if I file this for you, are you going to leave me? And then it becomes this leverage chip. And especially if the person's undocumented and you're already in kind of a difficult situation, you throw in some low income stuff and maybe a little alcohol abuse, and you have got a recipe for disaster. And my argument is, why does the U.S. citizen get to control whether or not this person gets immigration status? If they have the relationship, immigration should allow the person, the individual who benefits from the petition, to file that. Just simple changes.
Simple changes. Oh my gosh, Hillary, I can't wait to have you come back. I really appreciate it. And thank you all for being here. I want us all, immigrants, undocumented, documented, to do it the legal way, and to be able to, for everyone to say, I rock my finances. Thanks for being here.
We appreciate you joining us today, and don't forget to subscribe to the Rock My Finances YouTube channel for more engagement and bonus content. Tell me, what is your money story? Let's find out with Jennifer right here on K4HD Radio and Talk 4 TV. It's not about the zero, it's about the F word, feelings. Feelings Jennifer can't wait to explore with you next week. Until then, let's all say, I rock my finances.